this whole album has felt super personal.
Yeah, man.
Proud Family, again, just listen to it.
Good,
Piano music for the win.
Beautiful
and I've just
song,
put
man.
it's awesome. My good, what an awesome song. I loved it.
What I really want to say about that song is I had this not argument, but like I had this discussion with I have this uncle, right? All these uncles, but there's one uncle who's very, very outspoken about his views.
We all have one of them.
Yeah, and you know, really intelligent guy. So he's very good at explaining his views. He's very good at I don't want this to sound rude or anything. I have no real ill will towards him or anything. We get along, and one of our things about how we get along is that we just love to debate each other, because we're almost, sometimes we agree, sometimes we're on, a lot of the time we're on very different ends of kind of the spectrum. But, you know, it can easily just click back to us being very normal again, right? There's a good relationship in there. But there's certain things that I really disagree with him on. And, you know, he's quite outspoken on Facebook and stuff about certain things, political things. And, you know, he's very good with his words. So he comes off very intelligent as he is. And when he speaks, but he's one of those guys that when you think about it afterwards, you're like, actually, nah, there's some kind of gaps in the argument, or, you know, I just wish I kind of thought of that in the moment and I could have expressed it. You know, he has a good memory for statistics and things, but you know that if you just throw out random stats at people, it will sound intelligent, but sometimes there's a deeper story that's not being told through the stats. The stats are just numbers, right? You need context. And during a conversation, you can't always fact check in real time each stat that someone throws at you, right? To make sure that it's correct. So, you know, I usually hate it when people just keep throwing that in there. But, you know, recently he had to come back to my old house to get some stuff. He lives with my grandma lives with him now in Leicester, and he had to come back and get some stuff for her that she'd left in the house. And we ended up having this whole talk about BLM and bringing statues down and stuff. And he's on the other end of the spectrum of the argument for me, right? And we started talking about stuff, and then he started talking about the black community, right? I'm going to try and explain what he was trying to say. So basically, it was like talking about we didn't get to finish the conversation, but I heard the tail end of it, right? Before we got distracted, and we had to continue what we needed to do. And we basically were talking about the BLM thing and stuff like that. And he started making some kind of points. They weren't really points, that kind of lent towards like that it might not necessarily be a system of oppression against black people, but maybe also something that they need to address within their own culture, right? He's not understanding that there's a different type. Sometimes it's like, you know, it's not the same in America as it is in the UK, for example. And then even then there's differences within, you know, what do you unify as like black culture, right? Why do you put everyone in there? Everyone who's black has to now be held accountable for, you know, why is it black on black crime? You know, when black people happen to all live in a particular place, if they're the ones who commit crimes on each other, it's because that neighborhood happens to just be mainly populated by black people. So therefore the criminals are going to be black, just as the school teachers are going to be black, and the scientists, the doctors are going to be black, and all the people not committing crimes are going to be black. But why does the blackness come up as a factor when it's to do with the negative part, right? With the knife crimes, etc. You don't call the kids in Glasgow that are, you know, have like some serious knife crime. You don't talk about their whiteness, right? What's their blackness got to do with it, right? And you know, he starts talking about their, you know, black culture, and, you know, black people need to, you know, maybe it's something that they need to address from within. And I'm like, okay, one, what the fuck are you talking about? Two, like, it's funny. I'm thinking, but, you know, if I am gonna just, you know, come down to your argument, whoever they are, they have. And, you know, you can base it on like culture and music and stuff like that as well. Because at the tail end of his argument, he started saying, you know, that there's almost this kind of like glorification of blah, 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 blah. But we didn't get to finish the discussion. And I feel like he was going to lead into this whole thing about, you know, there's some sort of kind of glorification of certain things, like, you know, knife crime and this type of culture and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, okay, who's glorifying this stuff? One, I need to know that.
Yeah,
Right.
I'd love to
Are
find
you talking about
out.
all the mums out there that are scared? Yeah, all the mums out there who happen to be black and who have, you know, black children,
Because not even,
are worried about. Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, like, not like even like when you listen to like young up and coming MCs and stuff, they're not saying that, yeah, I love like shanking people. They're like, it's a bad
That's
thing.
exactly what I was going to go on.
It's a bad thing. I've seen
This
my
is the
friend
thing, right?
like
This
a
is the
lot of
thing.
yeah, go
Yeah.
on.
No. You say what you're going to say. It's probably exactly what I was going to say.
Okay, I was just going to say that a lot of music, a lot of brilliant, hard-hitting music, and a lot of underground music comes from our experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of MCs, especially people that roll in gangs and stuff like that, that have seen their friends bleed out and die, or family members bleed out and die in front of them, they're traumatized by it, and they,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're going to want revenge and all of that. That's human. Like, we get that. But the thing is, like, the ordinary person won't be able to necessarily what's the word, like, relate to that.
Sure.
But the thing is, when you relate to it on a personal level, like when any member of your family has passed away, for example,
Mm-hmm.
you want them back. You're angry at the world. You can be angry at God. You can be angry at just the circumstance, right? And
Sure.
in that anger, you will probably want to hurt somebody. Maybe you might want to, I don't know, hurt yourself or something. You might not act on it, but you might feel that way. So
For sure.
while I do understand, I do see little bits of what your uncle's trying to say. I think that's a whole
That's a whole like.
that is a really big debate because that's
sure.
something that I've thought on a lot, but I haven't got the smarts to kind of really articulate a good answer. It's something that I'd
Sure.
have to write down and read out.
Yeah. You'd have to like edit it and kind of make sure it's coherent and things like that.
Yeah, because there's a lot that I would like to say in every
there's a
single
lot to say,
sentence.
yeah.
But what I was trying to say is that I don't see people glorifying. I listen, we listen to a lot of music, a lot of new stuff. I don't see anybody glorifying it. I think that anybody affected by it who's making music is going to be saying, "I've seen my mate die at a really young age. I don't want that, and I'm really angry, and I'd love to kill the guy that did it to him. I'm not going to." But
See, it's okay for someone like Eminem to say that, right? Now,
he made a career out of it.
yeah, we know why, right? Because it's human. It's so raw. It's this raw human, emotion. That's what they will write about him, right? For some reason, for these young kids, it's to do with their blackness.
Yeah,
like.
Colorism is a hot topic at the moment, especially in the last couple of days, man.
Yeah, I was just about to say. I mean, you see the way they treat Kate and the way they treat Megan.
Listen, so this is whole cynical me, right? But I saw somebody comment on something I saw on Instagram yesterday. Like, one of my cousins put up something, and there was a comment underneath basically saying, "A billionaire talking to millionaires about oppression. Do me a favor." And I'm like, you know what? You got a point. It's all distraction tactics. Basically, the UK might be falling apart, but don't worry, there's a race war like going on, with the royal family. Well, hold on a minute. The royal family are inconsequential to your life and my life. Like, I don't understand like the big furore. Like, they want to keep the bloodline pure. And Meghan Markle saying, "Oh, there was discussions about the color of my baby." Well, I mean, that's what you get. Like, it's almost like you lay in bed with, like, I don't know, for example, a historical reference. You lie in bed with the Nazis, and you're surprised that they start, killing a minority.
Right?
Why are you surprised? Why?
Do
you know what I mean? It shouldn't.
I get it to an extent. It's I think. See, that's a whole kind of.
That's again a whole other debate, but
because obviously we can talk about the whole billionaires talking to another millionaire about oppression, but it depends how you're viewing it, through what lens. Like,
that's cynical.
A cynical lens or like a human lens of it doesn't really matter. We're talking about a person, like a child. Forget all the institutions. Why is this still even a thing? You know, should we be making
because it's the royal family? They would rather.
But should we allow them to just continue this? Because they are part of our. You know, I'm just saying that's what some people might ask. I personally don't see why everyone gives a fuck. Like, not in general. I mean, just in general, why everyone has even given a fuck about about what the royal family does.
Yeah.
What they kind of, because to me, I've always felt like they're kind of quite. I mean, they bring in a lot for like tourism and stuff, and they're, I guess, how the rest of the world.
I don't see any of that money, so sod it.
I guess. But I mean, for me, I've never. When I say I don't understand why anyone gives a fuck, I don't mean about the topics, about like, you know, bringing up the idea of what this baby's skin color will be and stuff. Because look,
terrific.
If you come from like, you know, I'm sure if you come from like Indian backgrounds, and you know, I've heard as well from black backgrounds as well. It's like I shouldn't have said black backgrounds, like, but just because there's a whole variety, right? But like for me specifically, Indian backgrounds, there's a whole colorism issue there where people will ask, not out of interest. I might ask out of interest, like, oh, what do you think that baby's color is going to be if my cousin is with a person who's like very dark or very light? I'm purely asking out of interest. I do not give a shit after that, right? Whereas there's another way of asking the question, which is, what would their skin color be? Almost in a sense of, this will change how I then relate to that child, and how I interact with that child, and how I think that child will then maneuver through life. That's completely different. Now you're making this condition based upon something about like their skin color, which they can't control. So I understand the issue about that, and I understand why people care about that. I think if you just pull all the way out from it, I've always found it hard to connect with stories about the royal family in general, and about who marries who, and Meghan Markle this and Kate Middleton. I just don't give a shit. I give a shit about how they treat them, as in like someone like Meghan Markle compared to Kate Middleton, for example. You know? Yeah,
it's blatant.
Yeah, I care about that. I care about that subject. I just don't care about the royal family. I don't see what this huge deal is about that people are so obsessive about, you know, that we even got this in the first place, you know?
So do you know what, like the other day we were having this debate, me and like my sister and her fella, and like because he's so my sister's partner is he's in the army, and he's from St. Lucia, and like hell of a dude, and we were having this exact conversation. I said I don't get it, and he says I know people, when I go into their offices, they have pictures of the royal family in there. I'm like, this is so weird. But you're in Her Majesty's Royal Army, right? Or Royal Air Force, or whatever. You know, maybe that's a different. It's a different.
I get it like that, but still, I don't still get it like at my core. Like,
well, the thing is, the royal family lost credibility, like complete credibility, when they didn't cut Andrew off after that flipping interview. Like, how you mean the guy is a complete like pedo, like he's an R. Kelly, he's maybe even worse, right? Him, Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, all of them, whatever. The fact that they haven't like cast him out and like taking him down the back of the sheds and just put one in his head, like, you're bringing the royal family down. But they would rather comment, you know what I mean, like they would rather sort of they'd have this circus around Meghan Markle. Like, I just think that it's, you know, it's annoying. Yeah. But anyway,
see, that's the thing. I care about the fact that they wouldn't, move away from, like, they wouldn't. Suddenly, I only care now at the principle of, why would you not distance yourself from someone like that in your family?
Yeah.
You care about this. In principle, I care about that topic, because that can be applied across the board to people in general. You know, people do that even just on a micro level, right? But sorry, the reason we went into this is because I was talking about we were talking about my uncle, and we had this discussion about black culture, and I feel like he was going to move into, you know, I put those snippets up on Instagram and on Facebook, and on Facebook, when I put them out on Facebook, on the Facebook page, I share them on my normal profile, right? I don't know if you're on Facebook, you probably don't see it, right?
No, I'm not on Facebook.
Okay, yeah, so I have it on there, and I kind of, anytime when the posts go out, I'll go on my normal account and I'll just share it, and then I'll write something, kind of like an additional thing. And I think some of the more recent ones were about people assuming about hip hop and what it is, and
yeah, I remember the
overgeneralizing.
conversation.
Yeah, so I kind of added onto that a bit, and surprise, surprise, my uncle comments on it, and you know, he basically says a whole, you know, I'm not being rude, I'm just saying it how it is to me. He said a whole lot of nothing. It was just more of flexing of, look, I can write very good words, but like, you know, I am part of the conversation. No, you're not. You just said a whole lot of nothing. He basically, you know, it's just like, you know, why would you not expect people to think this way about, people never understand true hip hop. Only people like you who are really into it. I'm like, okay, cool. Hasn't added anything to the conversation. That's just
totally disagree.
Yeah. Even on that sense, I disagree with you, but you've not really said much, you know. Why do you disagree? I'm really interested, actually.
Well, it's just that you don't need to be in something to love something. I mean, okay. The first time I heard the band Korn, it was at the end of a Street Fighter the animated movie, the manga.
Yeah.
Holy mo! I had no business being 11, 12 years old. I had no business watching that film, for one.
Right.
But I had no business loving the whole context of the way that the song comes in and all of that at the end of the movie. I loved it, and it spoke to me.
Yeah.
So I didn't know anything about it, and it's it's rock music. It's not anything that I'd really been exposed to before.
Sure.
But in that same vein, you might be a person that loves flipping gospel music and country music, for example, and you roll in those kind of nice, wholesome spheres. But you might hear something on the radio, like, I don't know, like a little pump track. Like, no, but do you know what I mean? And it might just speak to you. It might hit you in that moment, or you might be going through something, and then all of a sudden, you know,
you just need that
a song,
something ignorant, like you just need something to just party music or something. Yeah,
or even if it's something more deep and meaningful. I mean, I can imagine introducing like Slippin' by DMX, for example. Like, you know, if they're really, really down on their luck, and you just say, look, I know you're feeling rough, but listen to this. And it might hit them in a certain way that, you know, they might not be au fait, or they might not understand like hip hop in its deepest core and roots and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that music just hits you differently at different points, no matter the genre, and no matter your expert level. So
no, exactly. And so this this is the thing. It's like, for me, it was like another part of his comment on that is, for me, it's like, yeah, anyone can kind of love it. You know, you don't have to be deep into true hip hop. There's no true hip hop. It's just hip hop, right? That's what I'm trying to get at, right? And yet he's already misplaced that in the comment, right? And I'm like, no, don't make it other. This is the thing. You're now making it other. Like, well, see, like, that's true hip hop. This stuff that we hear is all bullshit. It's like, no, it all comes under the same thing.
It's partisanship.
Yeah, just stop overgeneralizing. And this is what he didn't get. What I was trying to say to him was, look, he was like, you know, but people make surface level judgments all the time. Okay, why are you making an excuse for that? What I'm saying is that, as a general rule of thumb, how about you don't talk about something as if you know it in depth if you don't know it in depth, right?
Yeah.
That's my point. Right?
Or just a little bit of humility, maybe, you know, just to say, I don't know everything, but here's my opinion. You know, you're more likely to be a lot more receptive to something like that, right?
Exactly. And this is something I think he needs to understand. But like, as if he'll be listening to this, but like, this ties into the Ghetts song, because we're on Proud Family. Yeah, I do remember Dory. This ties into that because one of my points was that the reason that we should identify this kind of almost unconscious bias that comes up when it comes to things like hip hop music, like why we just assume it's aggressive and we assume that it's all about money, drugs, hoes, and blah, 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 is because unfortunately people attach this perception of what they think black people are like based on something like hip hop, right? And it's like, that can become dangerous. If your overgeneralization of it is purely towards the negative, you might just not realize that your opinion is then shaped of real, actual people.
Exactly.
Who may have no connection to that kind of thing at all. You know, it's like, it's the reason someone will clutch their purse tighter when they see a black.
And I've had it. Yeah. Yeah, I get all that like unconscious bias crap.
Mate, I'm not, you know, we get like microaggressions, right? Like, I'm not black, right? And I'm maybe on this screen you can see my skin's lighter, but I'm visibly out and about. I don't look white, and I'm generally darker, right? So you know, sometimes you're right. You come across these microaggressions and you feel like you have to change how you act in order to show people on the outside, I'm not a bad guy.
Hey there, I'm your friend.
Yeah, you have to talk differently. You have to code switch, and you have to, you know,
you have to put on a different mask.
Yeah, you can't wear your hoodie even if it's raining or if it's cold, you know, because that denotes some form of aggression when you do it.
Yeah, to be honest, dude, like I've let go of trying to be. I'm just
it's like that. Now I don't give a fuck what you.
No, neither do I. Just you know what, guys, I'm cold and I'm doing me. So if I scare you, that's on you.
I'm cold as fuck. Yeah, that's the thing that I had to realize. If we scare you, that's not my problem. That's your problem. Yeah, that's your problem to deconstruct, right? And I think that it ties into what I think my uncle was then talking about, this kind of within Black culture and the glorification and stuff. I think he was going to start talking about things like the culture and the music and blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, well, sorry, but you don't have a good leg to stand on with that, because you clearly are out of the loop, especially if you're still saying that shit. Because I actually thought about this album. This album came up in my head as soon as he said that, because I thought to myself, I've already got something that can trump that. Kano's last 2 albums, I can literally throw them at you. I can throw Wretch's discography, not even just his later stuff, the early stuff too. I can throw that at you. And this is just in the UK, right? Like, come on, man. These guys, the genre is young, the genre is growing, so therefore now we're getting older artists who are now going to talk about this stuff, right? And even to a young man's level, I feel like the younger people's mentality has changed in general across the board, and that has seeped into hip-hop. In the music you hear more positive stuff. People kind of, you hear radio shows and interviews and people saying, I just want to put more positivity out there. I want to tell my story, but I don't want it to be all negative. And you're like, oh, okay, interesting. Like, the mentality has shifted. Someone like him doesn't really have a right to talk about that because he's not in it.
You've got to understand that music is just, it is made by an individual frame of reference, right?
Yeah.
So it is a reflection of the reality of a person's situation. So a lot of the rap and stuff, it's not glorifying, say, money, hoes and all of that. It's just, these are the influences. These are the things that I've grown up around.
Yeah.
And it's incumbent on that individual to then go move from that sort of like superficial crap into the more meaningful stuff. It's incumbent on that individual. But they 100%. Are a reflection of what they've had to grow up and grow past. And also, you need to understand there are socio-economical and political factors, which is why you've got a plethora of how many rappers talking about exactly the same thing, because so many people are in a bit of trouble. So you need to understand it. You need to understand that it's a systematic thing, and unfortunately, so I have a sort of theory. Well, it's not a theory. It's just something that I sort of put together, but I again need to sort of sit and work on it and really word it well. But it's basically linking the traumatic scars of slavery into the modern music that we have, because those scars are very, 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 very prevalent. And I think that trauma it's the worst kind of trauma I think a bunch of people could ever really go through. Geographically, linguistically, in a climatic, being taken from the warmth to the cold, things like that. You know what I mean? I think that it's one of the worst things that could have happened. But it's not only that; it's just that children of slaves and children of freed slaves, they would say, they would pass on whatever knowledge that they had learned, I've learned this in my life, and you need to do this, that, and the other. And that trauma that their forebears before them have passed on to them, that they're passing on, it's diluted a bit, because things may be getting a little better.
Yeah.
But it's that trauma is still there and it's still prevalent. And I think that
that's so interesting. Yeah, I think I'm with your line of thinking there, definitely.
Yeah, I think that, you know, in my life, I remember I had the talk when I was about 6 or 7. When so it's kind of like when you're black, you get the talk, and basically my mum said to me, "So has anybody said anything to you at school?" And it's like my friends would be like, "I'm vanilla and you're chocolate." Just really
small things. Yeah,
just really small things. It's not aggressive. It's not anything like. It's just kids noticing stuff now. Like, hang on a minute.
They don't know how else to say it, right? They just say,
you know what I mean? Yeah, you're chocolate, and I'm vanilla, or whatever. Or I'm snow and you're mud, or something. There's nothing really.
Yeah.
There's nothing really bad. But, you know, like even in that example, I'm just like, well, yeah, but snow ends up being on top of the mud, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it does.
Motherfucker. Yeah, you get to be snow. Just because you're pale doesn't mean you're closer to divinity, motherfucker. Anyway.
Even at 6 years old, deep your racism goes, but yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm like little Black Panther me, like with my beret and stuff. I'm just there, just brewing, you know? But yeah, we had that talk. Basically, that talk was, you know, just because of your skin color, you are going to run into a bunch of crap that it's not even fair on you, you know. But it is just the way of the world, unfortunately, and that's pretty much the length and breadth of the talk. And it's almost like my mum passing that on. You know, it's like almost like a little bit of the trauma.
Yeah, 100%
being passed on, and I think that it's prevalent in every single. I think that it's prevalent. There is a deep. I've spoken to so many friends about this as well, and like also like my sister, and she's a doctor of philosophy, so she's pretty smart, right? Yeah, dude.
I did philosophy at uni.
I remember you saying.
Listen, that's how little I remember.
You're a person with a brain, like, and she, you know, she's not like snobby. She's really good, but it's just that, you know, that with regards to trauma, it is something that we unfortunately, like, I think a little bit has been passed on, but also when you look at the overall sphere of where black people are in society, so in America and also in the UK, I mean, it's different, obviously, but we reflect exactly what we see. So a lot of the music that people would deem as aggressive or not good or whatever, well, actually, it's showing you that your country is fucked.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's a reflection of your kind of the living environments that they're in.
That's it.
And they have to think this way. I don't think that they're waking up like, I'm just going to make some really aggressive music about killing people who look like me just for no reason, because I want to perpetuate that kind of whatever. You know, like, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, you know, we talk about hip hop being like a reflection of culture and of the, you know, the state of the times, almost like the real news, right? People used to refer to it like that, like the conscious stuff, and like people like Ice Cube were like really reporting what's actually happening out here, not the whitewash. That's what it is. It's not. I think people mix up glorification with just, this is just my life.
Telling it like it is. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just what it is. I'm not glorifying it. Why are gangster movies and mafia movies, mob movies, and all that kind of stuff not seen as glorification? Where, if anything, like a lot of that stuff kind of makes that stuff seem really cool and attractive, right?
It's almost, there's always like, it's sexy to be like in the mafia, like it's kind of cool, right? Yeah.
To do this kind of thing. And there's like some sort of like honor to it and things like that. But for these guys, it's like, nah, man. Nah, why can't you? Have you ever seen any of those elders react videos on YouTube?
Yeah. I like, only though not with music, but with games, like especially with Dead Space.
Interesting. Oh, okay. I can't.
They're like, why would people want to play this? It's just like, because it's freaking cool. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's so weird. I can't put myself. I really hope I'm not like that when I'm old, like where I'm doing the next generation equivalent. I don't know what it could be though, but like they do like a reaction to Eminem, and there's two things that I noticed, right? One is that they're just like, oh, they all know who he is. That's one thing. And they all some of them are like, oh, he's just amazing, isn't he? And they're like, listening to like Lose Yourself and Rap God and stuff, and they're like, wow, he's really good at this whole rapping thing, isn't he? He's so good. Yeah, I saw the movie. And then you watch another elders react where they're just listening to like hip hop songs, even from positive, so-called positive artists like J. Cole and Kendrick and them. And it's like, they say one bad word and it's, nah, don't like that.
I know. It's to do with frailty and, do you know what it is? It's because it's other. It reflects something ugly that people don't want to look at.
I think that's what it is, because they're always like, why are these rappers so aggressive? Why?
Because they've grown up in poo, surrounded by poo, no money, no prospects, nothing. They've only got their love for music and the rage in their chest. That's it.
Why is that so hard to? Yeah. Okay. Bring it back.
Yeah.
No, go. No, you go.
No. It's fine. I
think this is a very important conversation that we've had, and I hope people hear it, because we are into this sort of thing, right? We are into the music, and we kind of we don't just listen to the music. We, like you said in the very first episode, we emote to it in a certain way. We live with it. This informs a part of our life, and it's something that we even understand. Like, we know about the artists even outside of just the songs that they have. We understand the kind of their backgrounds. We know their stories. We listen to the full albums and the ideas that they're trying to get across. We understand the context. We get all of that stuff, right? So, it's why in one breath we're talking about Common, in the other breath we'll talk about, I don't know, DMX, right? And then in another breath we're talking about Eminem, and then in the other breath we're then talking about fucking whoever else, like super aggressive or whoever. I can't think off the top of my head, but
Danny Brown, that's
Danny
aggressive.
Brown. Right, that's aggressive as fuck. But
or MOP,
MOP,
super aggressive.
Yeah, that's a good example. And Busta Rhymes, people like that, right? Now it's because there's this breadth of kind of
feeling,
music and art and feeling, just as there are with human beings in general.
Yeah.
So us talking about this, I think, is important, and it dials back into, I really hope Ghetts listens to this if he ever does, because I think he would appreciate the fact that a song like this would have sparked that entire conversation. Oh man,
we've been going for a long time just on this one. It's a really, really good, it's a really good conversation starter. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, because Proud Family, especially.
Well, yeah, I think that this whole album speaks to so many different social issues, but also those social issues were prevalent in Lowski's album that we did earlier on. I mean, I think he's got like a really amazing album in him somewhere along the line. I think that he's got the potential to really just
life and growth, right? And then he'll kind of get
needs to get some hairs on his chest, man, and start drinking a bit more rum. Like, it'll be absolutely.
What is it with you and the rum, man?
Listen, rum is not only like a quintessentially David Rano drink, but rum is the only drink that when you drink it makes you a pirate.
Okay, fair enough.
Name me another drink that makes you a pirate.
I don't have an answer for you, David.
Exactly. You just leave me on my little island. It's cool. I say that to my wife, and she's like, "I don't know why I married an idiot."
Yeah, I can't. I need to trace back my steps.